Every obese person I saw in that gym was still obese 3 years later. They'd never improved. They might marginally got better at press up, and they might have gone from the purple band on the assisted pull-ups to the green band in 3 years, not lost a pound. And they're there for what keeps them there is the community. It's fantastic for that. But the real reason why they're there is they improve their health and fitness, and CrossFit don't do it. It fucking batters them. Smashed up joints, smashed up bodies. And because the trainers and the coaches more than likely have never been obese, they don't get it. And the ones who are the success stories, say the people who go from obese to fit, one thing that they typically don't take into account is that they're typically middle class, upper class people who are extremely wealthy who don't have stress otherwise. So or they can go and put an hour's hell, 2 hours hell into the gym and then go off and do all the other healthy stuff because that's all they've got going. You know, most of them are retired mums. They don't actually think about the young man, young woman, or any age man or woman who's got to go work a 9 to 5 and graft maybe on minimum wage and come back, and that 80 quid a month subscription, it's actually a waste of their fucking time. They're better off in a pure gym on their own with just some good knowledge and good application. That'll do them way better. Way fucking better. Yeah, sorry, I was just ranting.
I'm keeping that in. I mean,
we can talk about that on this.
Talking now, as you can hear, is my mate Ben James, big and tall model, and I don't think they were big.
Yeah,
he's right anymore. I think we're past that, mate, aren't we?
I think that's gone. Unfortunately,
I mean, international model.
Still that, I guess. I mean, I'm signed internationally. Whether I get booked or not's a different question.
Role model.
You know? I'll set
influencer. You can use, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
What were you at your biggest, mate? When you were like...
What, my heaviest? Like, my biggest and my lowest point. They're the two ways I tend to manage it. Is one was my biggest, one was my lowest. Same period, 28 stone. So just shy of 28 stone, 27 stone.
What are you now?
I think I'm about 16 flat, I think. Basically, well, like kilos is what I typically do. So I've done stone because I assume everyone's listening is going to be English or British. But 177 kilos down to 104 right now with another 6 kilos to go, and then we're wrapped, then we're done. So a lot of weight, mate, yeah. Literally lost.
What's that, 14?
About 13 and a bit stone, I think.
13 a bit stone.
Does it work out something like that, I think? Something maybe? Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it last time, but like when you were at your heaviest, like your mental health was in the actual bin.
Yeah, I mean, they were byproducts of each other. So, like, from my point of view, I mean, that was, to me, that dark word here, but that was suicidal for me. I mean, I had just tapped out of life. I was a walking ball of fucking disaster. That was my end goal. I mean, there was nothing left for me at that point. I was just a guy, 21, 22 years old, a young kid, really, by probably the way we'd view the world now. Just lost. Just totally lost, just so completely empty and vapid and just broken as a person. And for me, food was like I don't know what the fuck it was, to be honest. It was just abuse. It was just it was almost like...
What you sort of eating, like, calorie-wise? What you eating in a day like at your worst?
Bear in mind, at that point, I'd gone to 27, call it 28 stone from, like, 19. So I'd actually gained 8 stone in about 2 years because I just hit the self-destruct button. So say, like, if we went out for drinks, I'll have done a bottle of whiskey craftily before we've even left the house.
Wow.
So if you're all pre-drinking, I know I'm going to go through this bottle of whiskey and I'm not going to let you lot see it. And that's gone straight off the bat. Then we're out, then we start drinking, then comes the beers and all that shit. Then you come back, then's the takeaway, the pizzas next day. It's just that. It's the fun guy that everybody loves to be around, but actually the second you're not around him, he's the worst person you'd never want to be that guy. Because, you know, from my point of view, I was just living for those moments of like, right, let's fucking drink and get on it, lads. And then the second it was gone, it was like, there's nothing here for me. So I just keep eating. So you're talking like, just the normal shit everyone normally eats, eggs, whatever for brekkie, but just a fucking lot of food. It's as simple as that. It was just a binge attitude, this consumption attitude. It was almost just trying to fill a void, basically. I do think it was a physical manifestation of the desire to fill an empty hole inside me. I think it was just a physical expression of that, I think.
How'd you get out of that, Ben? I mean, you've had no counselling.
I've done therapy. So I've done therapy, but I've had no sort of like, none of that. So it's all been self-done. So I think the way I got out was, one major thing that I found out was I had celiac disease. So I didn't know I was gluten intolerant, which really explained a lot of the frustrations that had initially stemmed from rugby in the past, where I was constantly exhausted and had big weight fluctuations and stuff. So a lot of that was explainable. And learning that kind of allowed me to rebuild my relationship with my body again, because I was like, oh, wait a minute. I've been battering it. Yeah, emotionally I'm gone and I'm tapped out and blood. Mentally I'm gone. But the fact that I now realised my body just needed to change the environment, it kind of gave me a new hope to be like, well, actually, I can undo this. There is actually, if I undo this and basically just change this one factor, was cutting out the food group, so gluten, malt, wheat, barley, all that shit. I lost like 2 stone in a week. So I was like, right, I've gone from this 27 stone 10 to like 25 10 in literally 8 days, 10 days, whatever it was. I had a trip to Mexico lined up, so I was like, right, fucking go to Mexico. That's my last sort of like my last fucking dance, I guess, of chaos, and then we'll get back to it, because I always had that athlete inside me. So the thing was, when I was 28 stone, I was in the gym every day. Every single day I was in that gym.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, every day. So this is the thing, you cannot out-eat a bad diet. It's fucking, sorry, out-train a bad diet. Yeah. Impossible. I'll tell you that myself. I can show you the images. It's fucking impossible. I was in that gym every day. So I'm doing wrong. My arches and my feet have collapsed. My feet are fucking destroyed. But I would complete 10K every single day on that treadmill, even at 28 stone. Whether I ran it, walked it, whatever it took. I was doing HIIT intervals, doing CrossFit, Murph, all that bollocks, all that high intensity shit. I was still putting my body through. So that guy was there. That athlete, that hunger, that animal was in me the whole time. And I think that's where a lot of the depression was coming from, was it was realised unmatched potential, where I knew what I was capable of and I just wasn't doing it. And I think for me, I think that's almost the epitome of depression, is you're capable of more, you're just not doing it. And then you blame yourself and you beat yourself up and you're like, for fuck's sake, you're better than this, but then you cave again and you cave again and you cave again. And to me, that's what depression became about, was letting myself down. It was like, why am I just fucking not figuring this out? So I was still in the gym every day. Found out celiac, dropped a little chunk of weight, went to Mexico, loaded tequilas. I mean, it's quite easy. You just swap the beer for tequila, because beer's the thing that's actually the problem, which was wheat, gluten, malt and barley. This is what I told myself. Swapped it out for tequila. Sound, no issues. Came back, 2 weeks of chaos, didn't gain a pound. I was like, well, that's impossible, because normally, calorically and all that sort of shit. Obviously, my issue was the intolerance. So then after that, I was like, right, we've cracked it, let's go. And in 6 months, I went from like 27, 28 stone down to like 19 in 6 months. It just fell off, because again, I had the baseline fitness to just crack on. I was just like, oh cool, I figured it out now. It's fucking easy, this. And that gave me a new lease of life. It was like, oh my God, I can be normal. I get another go. To me, I mentally buried myself. Like mentally, I truly, like spiritually, mentally died when I was 21, 22. Like I think part of me died then. And I think finding out that was like my revival. It was like the Phoenix sort of thing, where it was like, you got another shot at this, go again. Don't fuck it, don't fuck this one up, but go again. It just set me off, and that was it. So I just repaired the relationship with myself.
How did you sort out the relationship with food? Well, how do you sort out that relationship with food?
Excuse me. It's a really, really, really good question. I wish there was one straight answer. For me, what sorted out my relationship with food was facts, was numbers. So once I put numbers into the equation and removed all of my feelings, I was always an emotional eater. I'm a very emotional person. Yeah. I am a very sensitive person. I'm super reactive to my environment. I am a product of what's around me. If my flat's a shithole, my brain's a shithole. It's just how it works. And I think after a very long time of being in denial, because bear in mind, by the way, this is the biggest irony of all, I'm a qualified personal trainer. So 28 stone, yeah. PT, don't really add up. I had the knowledge, just wasn't applying it.
Yeah.
And I think what the big thing was I was, I built a long-term issue with food from a really, really young age. It became like an emotional crutch in a lot of ways, traumatic childhood, all that shit. So food was always the thing that I turned to. Binging mostly. The way I repaired it was by removing emotion. So just like I say, just putting it into numbers. So being honest with myself, how much have you actually eaten? And you'd be like, oh, I've only had a bit of this and a bit of that. And yeah, but while you were looking for the food for dinner, you had like a fucking few blocks of cheese in your mouth and you had a couple of crisps and a bit. And it's like, I had to just be more and more honest with myself every single day, where it was like, mate, you're fucking lying to yourself again. Be honest. What have you actually consumed? And then I just started to log it. My fitness pal, food diary, whatever I wanted to do. And just did it into Logic. And it was like...
Would you recommend it for everybody to log the food
I would say yes, if you're like obese and your life's out of control and you truly have no control of yourself with food, then you need to unfortunately get a fucking reality check with yourself. And I'm not going to be brutal to anybody here, because I'm sure they're sick of people being arseholes to them, because I was sick of it when I was big. But you have to be really brutal to yourself and be like, right, what's actually happening? Be honest with me. It's a bit like if you sit down with your accountant, all right, you can be like, fucking what are you on about? I didn't spend out. And they're like, mate, there's $2,000 out of your account. Where is it? And you're like, what are you on about? It's the same attitude to yourself. Money and food, your behaviours they almost mirror each other. They're almost identical. So if you don't want to look at your food diary, look in your bank account. How many trips to Asda are there? How many times does it say Asda, Morrison's, Tesco, whatever? How many times does it say that and how much you're spending? So if you don't look at the food, look at the cash. Because either way, whenever you have an emotional turmoil, you typically express yourself in those two areas. You lead to some sort of consumption, whether it's monetarily or in terms of food. So if you don't track food, track your cash. If you don't track your cash, track your food. There is no other option. You will never be an intuitive eater if your intuition is broken.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if my intuition is to binge, how the fuck am I going to learn to be an intuitive eater? I have to give myself over to a system, to a solution, to a numbers game, because it is effectively a game of numbers. It's a game of balance. This is not good advice for someone who's on the other side of the spectrum. If somebody's had anorexia or something, numbers are the devil to them because it's obsessive control, and that's the very thing they don't have. So if anybody's listening to that with that, please do not listen to that advice, because that's a different journey. One I can't advise on. But if you're someone who's obese, who's had a strong lifelong issue with overconsumption, binging, that sort of stuff, you need to try a different option. Your intuition will never, ever, ever serve you right, because you've built your intuition likely on the back of trauma, and your trauma is actually what's telling you to intuitively eat by overeating. So you're not listening to your intuition, you're listening to your trauma. So you've got to take that out. Take it out by applying numbers. Start simple. Let's say you're 20 stone, your BMR is probably 5,000 calories a day, 4,500 calories a day. Let's say 5 because it's easy. Start tracking your food and just allow yourself to eat 4,000 calories a day. Doesn't matter what it consists of initially. You can have fun with it. Have pizzas, do what the fuck you want. Honestly, as long as you stay within that number, do that for 2 months. Not lost any weight, that's because you're eating too
How
much.
do you track calories?
Me, I use my fitness pal, so I just scan my stuff in, barcode in. So I know my numbers kind of pretty much inside out at this point. But that ironically allows me to now be intuitive. Because I've repaired all my relationship, I no longer live under with a pair of scales and a microscope to say, oh, that's 200 grams of chicken. I don't have to do that as much anymore, because it's like, well, I'm sound. I'm in a healthy position. I just have a bit to eat, chill out. It's easy. It's not that deep. But the beginning, the way to repair it and to get over it is to apply a system. You've got to have method. There's got to be some logic behind your decisions, because right now you're likely living illogically, and that's what I was just living illogically.
At any point, like through that journey, mate, of like going through it, because obviously you've had a lot of chubby chases, haven't you?
Yeah.
Did your identity get attached to that, where you're thinking, oh, people like me like this, so I'm like. Well, just explain to people, mate, what that means when we say chubby chaser, like, because you started doing your. Because we talked about it last time, didn't we, about your TikTok, and you blew up on TikTok quite quickly.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you got these.
Yeah, I was one of those lockdown people who just was viral for like no apparent reason, and it just exploded. So obviously I was already one of the ironic things, as someone who's a model, I was a more successful model as someone who was 5 stone heavier than I am now. So you typically envision a model, you envision the abs and that sort of stuff and the cheekbones. Me pursuing that has actually cost me my career. Ironically, as a direct model, now I'm more of a content creator, whatever, it is what it is. But that's actually cost me my career, because my position in the market was a men's plus size, big and tall model. So when I got to my 21 stone mark, that's when I got signed as a model. It was about 2 years deep, smashing it. Done Calvin Klein, Ted Baker, some fucking big clients, ASOS, campaigns on Oxford Street, all that. TV, Sky One, Giacomo, of course. Yeah. Done all that sort of jive. Really good. Worked with some athletes like Courtney Laws and done some stuff on telly. Really was doing really well. But I knew in my heart that wasn't right, because that wasn't the person I wanted to be. Like, yes, it was serving a purpose for the time and then, and I'd attached some really good values to that by saying, actually, this might help other big lads when they can see you can be happy now, you can be successful now. You don't have to wait to be thin to be those things. You can do it now. However, there is an overarching fitness journey. So when the TikTok thing happened during lockdown, I mean, that blew up to like just shy of 300,000 followers in something like 10 weeks. And that put me in like Good Morning America, Esquire magazine in Singapore, like features in Vogue Japan, like just nuts. But it was because I was a big guy. It wasn't because I was exceptionally talented or exceptionally good looking or whatever. It's because I was fitting this narrative of like big is beautiful and all this body positive stuff. And with it it's one thing where obviously in the moment, especially when you're young, you're kind of like, oh, this is meant, look how much success I'm getting. The likes are pouring in, the followers are pouring in, the cash is pouring in. And you're like, oh, this is meant. And you go with it. And then eventually you kind of sit there and you look back at the situation, you go like, some just don't feel right. Like, these people aren't really my people. They're not really there to support me. They're there because it's feeding into maybe their fetish or to their overarching like purpose, maybe their idea of what they want you to be. And the biggest issue was, obviously Tim said here, was the chubby chaser thing. you just ended up in this sort of like sexualization of people.
People just looking at you as like an object,
Like
objectifying
like a piece of meat. And the second you did something that they didn't like, it was like, well, fuck you, then cancelled.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You have a girlfriend? Gone. Don't you dare get a girlfriend, because these people have this idea that...
It's like they own you.
Yeah, you're theirs. And the second you want to change your body or change anything, you get hate immediately. So for me, like, because obviously I started to blow up. I mean, the ironic thing was, when I really blew up on TikTok, I was fucking pretty depressed. I'd just come back from Los Angeles. I just jumped out of a fucking... And when I say the word toxic relationship, it was fucking two ways. I was as bad as she was as bad. We were just not good for each other.
Yeah.
We were both bullshitting each other, and she was bullshitting the public, and I was just getting on with my thing, so whatever. So I just come out of that mess, and then all of a sudden I'm facing a lawsuit as well. I was my old agent filed a lawsuit against me, one of my old agents. Anyway, I can't say who, because I think the lawsuit's still valid. It has been pulled, but in having a shit show during lockdown, fucking disaster. So, I just found myself in a position where obviously the only thing I'd going for me was this quote unquote and success. So I was like, fuck it. But then once the dust lays and obviously the dust settles and you fast forward and you're like, nah, I don't want a piece of this anymore. So that's where I just committed to just what I do now, which is just fitness and fashion. That's it.
And then what's it like at the time when you like that, you're thinking, oh great, this is, and then are you just getting offers left, right and centre from people?
Yeah.
Some a little bit untoward than others. You're
getting propositioned by, and I'm going to be really honest here, I mean, this is probably risque for me to say, but you're being propositioned by global industry leaders, people who are like decision makers who can change your life with one button, propositioning you for sex, propositioning you for relationships, that sort of stuff. Happened twice. But never say who.
Yeah.
Because it's actually serious. Like, it's actually really fucking bad. And I'm not going to play this role, but if the gender roles were reversed, we would have some serious fucking issues with this. But it happens every day. Happens all the time. So, yeah. So that was for me to get my revenge, my sort of like rebellions, was just standing up for myself and just looking after my own body, which is insane. Seems insane that losing weight was rebellious. That being fit and being strong and being active and improving my health and my life quality was
what a moment. I never thought of it like that, mate.
It was like being punished
sick.
for it. Being like, you get less jobs, you won't be as liked, all that stuff starts to fade away. And all the comments change to like, you're losing too much weight, you're this, you've got body dysmorphia. They're getting in your head. They're trying to sort of like intercept your own belief system of what you're actually trying to achieve. And they're like, you don't just want to be an average guy, this, like what you are now is special. And I'm like, what I am now is depressed. This is a byproduct of like 20 odd years worth of like pain and trauma. Like, get fucked. Like, I'm going to bang the gym and I'm going to do what I want. And if you don't want to view it, unfollow. It's quite simple. But there's this really like dark, like aggressive narrative around this body positive stuff that's just, it's just not healthy. And I'm not talking about health as in the people who do it themselves. I'm talking about the attitudes and the community. It's a very angry, quite aggressive community at times. And even me saying this will probably end up in me getting some backlash or anger, because they're just these sort of like angry American liberal types where it's like cancel everything and get the pitchforks out. And it's fucking like, Jesus Christ, mate. It's just a bit of content on the internet. Like, all I really talk about is men's fashion and fitness. It's not that deep, but they often want to turn it into like this huge thing, and it's like, fucking forget about it. I'm just gonna go do my thing, and that's kind of the attitude I've got now, really.
You've got to, haven't you?
100%. And look, don't get me wrong, I'm not doing bad. I've closed out my highest earning month last month, but it's on my terms. It's in the brand that I want, and it's what I feel much better about it. It's more honest, it's more authentic, it's more scalable.
Yeah.
It's more.
You're an amazing content creator, Ben. I know I've told you this before, but you are the way you do videos and stuff like that is insane.
Yeah,
it's just like you do think you've actually got your own videographer. When I look at the stuff, I'm thinking, how's he actually doing this? Is it?
Yeah.
But you're actually doing it yourself, and you showed me it's mint.
Yeah, it's all myself. So all the stills and all the imagery, they're all self-shot.
Yeah.
So that's just self-portraiture. But all the videos, I try and like I'm putting in more effort in that.
But you've got such a good strategical brain as well, mate, haven't you?
You
know what you're doing.
I've got a good creative mind. So I've just got a really good vision of the end product. So I kind of always have an idea in my head of what I want to see and what I want other people to see, in terms of like, basically my idea is, and I think this is a lot of people are saying this right now, whenever I make a piece of content, would I watch it? That's it. That's how I produce a piece of content. Would I watch it? If I wouldn't, I ain't fucking making it. I don't care what trending sound it is. I don't care what hashtag it is. I don't care what brand might like to see me say that about them.
It's almost like you're doing it for yourself.
I just do it for myself.
Right.
And then eventually, all of a sudden, you find there's actually probably a few thousand lads who are the same as you, and they think it's funny and sound, and they get on with it. And you just do that. Just keep doing that. And then they just start engaging with it. There's a lad that I follow on TikTok called Mitch Summit. Mate, he's fucking killing it. This kid, he's brilliant to watch. And all he is he's an asset manager, a young lad. He's like early 20s in London. He's got a bit of an East End boy accent. He's a good looking lad. And all he does is vlogs every day. Just vlogs every single day. His life, normal life, not model bullshit life, real life. And he's quality. He's absolutely class.
It's nice when you get people like that.
Yeah, mate, but that's what people want. People want these real people. I mean, look, it's like sales, right? In sales, people buy from people. That's the overarching message of all sales. People buy from people. Content's going down the exact same route. People want to see people. We're not bothered about all this threat around AI and all this shit. You can tell an AI video from everything else a million times over. It's so obvious because we just instinctually we know what's human and what's not, and all we're really looking for is other people. We're looking for like-minded people. We're social animals, right? Like that's the reason why humans are we live in social packs, all this sort of stuff. We built the ways of communication, 5 different ways or whatever, because we just like people. So content's just a reflection of what the people want to see, and are you the kind of person that they want to see? Maybe you're not, that's okay. But don't ever try and be something you're not, just be yourself. Just fucking have some fun with it.
That's the real trick, mate, isn't it?
Just
not doing it for other people.
Just do it for yourself. Yeah. I did it for other people for the first couple of years. And, last time we had this conversation, a lot of that, what I've referred to as success here, was just a waste of time, really, for me. It was good for the moment, and everybody benefited it, and all the right people made all the money, and everyone got everything what they wanted to get out of it. But as I sat there, like, it just more and more in time, it just became something, I was like, this isn't me, This isn't me. And I just couldn't live with it. So I just got to the point, I was like, fuck it. Start fresh.
But the thing is with you, Ben, you've got really good integrity and like really good belief system, haven't you? And it's always been there. But there's kids out there that have never had that. They don't know that values, a belief system, and what true identity is.
Yeah. I mean, look, first of all, appreciate you saying that. I definitely haven't had that at times in my life. Again,
but I don't know. I've always had it there from when you're young.
It's always been there.
You've kind of just.
It's always been there, but life happens, and sometimes you get distracted by stupid shit, and you get yourself involved with daft relationships, and you make stupid fucking mistakes. But then, ultimately, at the end of the day, when you look back at yourself, you're just like I said, go back to the point I made about food. You just got to be honest with yourself. You just got to be real with yourself, and just really, really have that painful self-exchange where you're just like, are you kidding? I mean, there's a poem I use that's fantastic called "The Man in the Glass." I'm going to pull it up if you want me to hear me read it out.
I've read it out. Mate.
The Man in the Glass. So I read that I first saw that when I was about 21. I think that was probably the thing that had the most profound impact. Because I saw a lot of my dad in that. So my dad's a really big feature in my life. Yeah. It's quite a special relationship to me because it's changed so much over the years. It's been as bad as I think it could get, and it's currently the best it's ever been, and it's only getting better. And like having him as a person where I can see him a lot in that poem because he's just a bloke. He's not my dad. He's a bloke. We're all just people. I remove that title and then look at his life and go like, well, if I was him, I'd have done the same fucking thing.
So read it out to me, Ben. Read it. Yeah.
I'll pull it up. It might take me a second.
The thing is, after like when I talked to you last time, I read it and I was like, oh my sweet God, like it just struck home.
It just hits you. Yeah. I'm probably going to butcher this.
It's fine.
But
it is beautiful.
10 notifications off. So it's basically the premise around the poem. It's very simple. It's just called the Man in the Glass, and this is how it goes. So when you get what you want in your struggle for self, and the world makes you king for a day, then go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. For it isn't a man's father, mother, or wife whose judgment upon him he must pass. The fella whose verdict counts most in life is the man staring back from the glass. He's the fellow to please, never mind all the rest, for he's with you clear to the end. And you've passed your most dangerous, difficult test if the man in the glass is your friend. You can fool the whole world down the pathway of years and get pats on the back as you pass, but the final reward will be heartache and tears if you've cheated the man in the glass.
Simple, isn't it?
Simple.
It's everything. That's everything.
Every single time I read it, I don't read it all the time because obviously it wears off, but like I get goosebumps when I read it. It's just because it's just simple. It's as simple as that. That's all that matters in the end. Yeah. There's another daft saying which is honest, is a bit dark, but there's no bunk beds in the graveyard. Yeah. You're going out of this on your own, whether you like it or not. Yeah. No matter who's around you now, at the end of the day, it's you and you. Yeah. So you may as well start now.
I'm just so buzzing with myself, how proud I am that I actually look at myself in the mirror. I'm really proud of the man that stares back.
Yeah, because that's the biggest thing.
It's the biggest thing. There was times where I couldn't.
Same. But the same.
Just fucking selling myself out.
Oh yeah, and you distract yourself with more booze and more bollocks and more food and more relationships and women, anything to just get you out of that moment of like, I don't want to see that, and you just literally go and distract yourself and cause chaos, because that's another thing. Chaos is like, you know, to a broken mind, chaos is brilliant.
Oh, I love chaos.
It's fun, you know, it's fun and it's exciting. That's the danger. You unfortunately, the reality of changing yourself, changing your life, whatever you want to call it, it's quite boring. It's just a game of maths, and it's an opportunity for you to it's a space of stillness, just you in the mirror. You know, whether it's literally or whether it's figuratively. You just got to always have that noise in your head of like that. Some almost if you're watching yourself in a moment, like, what are you doing? Do you really need to say that to them? Do you really need to bark at them? Like, even if it's deaf stuff, traffic lights beeping at someone because they're 3 seconds too slow. Is there any need? You know, like just have that word with yourself constantly. I still do it now. You know, still in the gym the other day, I felt rotten. I had to go back and apologise to this young lad because I was in the gym all, you know, doing my whatever. And this young lad, bless him, he was probably the same age, but you could tell he was brand new to the gym, a bit shy, but he put himself in a really awkward position, and it kind of I was trying to dumbbell row and he was stood in the wrong, and I sort of was like, mate, you know, fucking move sort of thing. And afterwards I was like, do I really need to do that? So I went back and apologised and just sort of said, oh, sorry mate, I didn't
testosterone, what the fuck
but it's just about, it's those little micro things where you've got to be like, that's not the guy you want to be, you know, you don't need to be that guy. So for me, that's what that poem does. It just keeps me in that space. I know I probably butchered the reading there, but
no, man, it's just it's like, I think when I first started doing videos, I knew we had to do them and start doing them, and it came very apparent that when I'm doing videos, I was actually looking at myself in the mirror,
and
I'm like that, and I'm looking and I'm like, oh shit, like I'm not ready to do videos yet.
You'll talk yourself out. I mean, a lot of trick for that is
what people do is they'll put a mask on. Hi guys, today we're going to be
prime,
and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, that's even worse.
Because you're building foundations on something you're not. And if there's one way to make a tower come tumbling down, it's to build it on dodgy foundations. There's no point in using an act to get you far up, because in the end you're just going to walk away from it anyway. So I meant the same. I mean, for me, I actually, when I first started, I'd only use the rear camera, so I'd never use the front facing, because I'd be looking at myself too much. Whether that's narcissism or not, I don't know, but I'd just be looking at myself too much, so I'd just do the rear facing. After a while you just become more present in the moment then, because it's easier to speak from the chest when you're not watching yourself, you know, like you can just speak.
That's exactly
like
it.
Right now we're just chatting. You actually forget this is a podcast. You forget there's cameras there because you've not got a mirror behind you to look at yourself. So obviously that's what the phone is. So you see it all the time.
It is. You're talking from here.
You're talking straight. You're just talking.
Too many people talk from here.
They're thinking too much. They're thinking, how does this sound? How am I inflections?
How are they think? What are they going to think of me?
What's my pacing? I'm saying this right. I've sworn too much.
How many numbers are going to get on this video?
Exactly. Will this brand like this? I can't say that because that'll affect this brand deal and that. And they're thinking about 50 other things when all they're really trying to do is talk. And then the viewer can feel that. The viewer can sense you're not right. You can't kid the public ever. Look how many celebrities have had a massive downfall. Because no matter how perfect they are, you can't kid us. I'm not going to mention
him when you were lying to the man in the
look
glass.
What's going on the ITV at the moment. You know, I'm not going to mention his name, but it's like Voldemort, I think. But all of us for years were like, what a fantastic dream job, you know, him and Ollie, blah, 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 blah. And you look at it and you're like, everyone goes, do you know what, I fucking knew. Everybody all of a sudden agrees that we all had a gut feeling about it. And whether we did or we didn't, and whether maybe that's just, you know, some sort of social bullshit. But nonetheless, we sit there and go, I fucking knew he wasn't right. There's something about him wasn't right. And you can tell you will never ever kid the public. I've tried. You won't. You won't even kid yourself. Whether you can't kid them or not, at the end of the day, you won't kid yourself. Because you're the one who has to go to bed. You're the one who has to sit with that on a night. You're the one who's going to sit reviewing those insights and those statistics and all that data. And you're the one that's going to know something ain't right. And whether the correct show or they don't, you're just going to have a miserable life.
Can't cheat the man in the
glass. Crack on. Just crack on, enjoy it. It's not that deep. It's really not that big a deal. If you don't speak perfectly, good. If you've got a bit of a Yorkshire twang, cracking. Good. Use it. Sean Bean's done a pretty good job of it. I've never known a bloke in Hollywood, he's done 30 years of a career. I've not heard him do an American accent once. You know, if it's that French bastard and all that, he's the most Yorkshire bloke ever. You can't even imagine him in Hollywood. But he's a prime example of like, don't matter, to be you. You know, it's not that scary. It's not that. I'd rather be judged for what I am than not, you know, judged for something I'm not.
Talk to me about your regime now then, mate.
Okay.
Right. So we're down to this weight now and you want to get to a level where you're just going to maintain it.
Yeah.
Talk to me like about the steps that you have to do and like what your supplementation and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So we'll sort of reverse it. So supplementation for me is actually the last thing that I would ever sort of like pick. So we'll discuss that a bit at the end.
Yeah.
The real steps to me, so the real method is pretty simple. I am in the gym a lot, so I am in there 5 to 6 days a week. That's just because I enjoy it.
What kind of training are you doing?
It's quite typically sort of like, I guess you'd quantify it as like bodybuilding-esque, just because it's predominantly just heavy weightlifting with a lot of hypertrophy type sets. So I'm mostly just lifting weights. I'm not really doing HIIT intervals. There's no CrossFit type style. There's no
because you don't like that, or because you want a certain body composition. What's the reason?
Well, because
for
my primary goal is body composition, it makes no sense for me to do and go functional workouts.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time for me to go and try and snatch 100 kilos. As much as that's fun and that's cool and that's a separate target, for me, I just want to look pretty good naked. I mean, that's kind of where I want to get to. I look all right now and I'm happy with where I'm at, but I want the missus to see us getting out of the shower, and that's the goal, to be honest. So the training is very much.
How much does health and longevity sort of like play a factor within that body composition?
Massive. So that's why it's taken me such a long period to achieve this, because I've not cheated it or done any shortcuts.
Yeah.
Health is the primary thing. Second to that's longevity, because they go hand in hand. Third to that's aesthetics.
Right. Okay.
Aesthetics is important because I want to look good.
Yeah.
I think everybody agrees they're probably similar for themselves. But if I can't do what I'm doing now when I'm 60, it's pointless. If I can't do what, if I don't have a body that's going to carry me to my 70s and 80s, whatever I do now is a waste of time.
Yeah, great.
Because at the end of the day, I want to be a dad. I want to be a granddad. I want to go all the way with this. I have a long, big body that's had a lot of years of abuse. I mean, I'm 6'6". So I'm going to be susceptible to a lot of bone issues, joint issues, back issues, that sort of stuff. So it's pointless me kicking the shit out of what potentially could end up knackered in 30, 40 years. So right now, health and longevity, primary factors. And that's why I choose more of a quote-unquote bodybuilder type approach, because it's more about targeting the muscles rather than it is about
joints,
overextending, hyperflex and all that sort of stuff. Yes, I do train in a very specific way. So I always elongate the muscle and overstretch and that sort of stuff. But we're not in the, like I used to do in the past, a lot of overhead squats and shoulder mobility stuff. Because my shoulder mobility is great. My mobility is fantastic. There's no need for me to push it to like, can you walk on your hands? No, because when the fuck am I ever going to do that? Yeah. Like, it's pointless. So a lot of the training reflects just what I do in life. Squats, deadlifts, that sort of stuff. Simple. But the actual regime itself is one I've written myself. So it's pretty simple. Just do push and back, so chest and back on a Monday, shoulders, arms Tuesday, legs Wednesday, rest, repeat. And then I front load the week, so I call it front loading, where the first portion of the week is where a lot of the heavy work gets done. That's where the grunt work's done. So that's where the heavy dumbbells, heavy bench, the heavy compounds effectively exist. They're the ones that obviously...
What are you going up to max, where you're sitting at about 90%, 8%?
80 to 85 to 90,
okay.
So it's intense.
Yeah,
so the first 3 days are very, very
but
intense.
Not enough that you're going to blow something out.
Not enough I'm going to rip a disc out my back or anything daft like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going hard on the first 3 days. The second 3 days, I'm replicating the same movements, but I'll take all those movements and take out, say, a dumbbell press and go for a plate loaded press on a machine.
Right, okay.
That gives my joints some rest. Allows me to just squeeze and isolate and just focus on the intended area without putting myself under massive.
So it's kind of active recovery in
sort
a way.
It's still super. You're still pushing to failure. You're still battering yourself, but you're just not damaging yourself. You're not risking any tendon or joint damage. So you're really just focusing purely on muscle contraction, where the load's significantly less. So say if in the front load, let's say just for numbers' sake, your dumbbell press might be 50 kilos for 4 sets of 6 to 8 or whatever, something around that range. On the second portion, you're going to go plate loaded press. Don't get me wrong, the numbers aren't necessarily equivalent, because it's a totally different plane of movement. Obviously, one's against gravity, the other one's not. It's quite simple. But you're going to maybe do 70% less than that and just focus only on squeezing your tits together, basically, is what you're trying to push blood through it. So it's a lot of training, but it's not that demanding. It's quite well balanced. And in terms of cardio, I just do steps. I don't actually do any cardio anymore. I've completely canned traditional steady state or hit intervals. Because to be honest, when you're doing sets of 12 to 15 on squats, trust me, that's fucking cardio. Yeah. When you're really, really, really slowing down that eccentric and going past the hip crease, and you're doing like a Tom Platz-esque squat where your quads are overstretched. Yeah. Try and do 15 reps of almost any weight at that.
You were a beasting, weren't you, Tom Platz?
You'll be blowing out your ass. Your lungs will be pumping. So because I'm in such a deficit, it's pointless me having a really stressful, really anabolically demanding workout, and also even one that's going to just demand significant amounts of carbohydrates from my body. Pointless me doing that because I'm not going to replenish it. So I'm going to be fucking miserable, deflated. I'm going to be desperate to overeat and binge. So I'm just trying to reduce as much stress as I can, but in a way where I can still be consistent. So high step count, which just means I move a lot throughout the day, which is what you should do anyway. You shouldn't have a golden hour. You shouldn't sit in an office 8 hours a day, get up, batter yourself for 60 minutes and go home. I tell you now, if you're already obese and you're coming from that, that will never be enough for you, ever. That will never, ever, ever give you enough without an extreme deficit. But the way to combat that is just to move more and have a sensible deficit and find a modality of exercise you just enjoy. I enjoy the gym. It's fun for me. It's my environment. I find it, I just enjoy that process. I like that space in my mind. Not everybody does. If maybe you're a woman who used to play netball back at school when you fancy it, go play netball. Do that 2-3 times a week, and then just focus on being active throughout the day. And all then you've got to do is just manage your deficit, which is easy.
How do you manage your deficit?
Well, once you've got a numbers goal, you just got to fit the numbers, right?
How do you get a numbers goal?
So if you use something like what you call like a BMR calculator, so anybody can do this, just go on Google, type in the term BMR, so Bravo Mother Romeo calculator, and that'll give you...
And BMR stands for what?
Basal, so your baseline, so basal metabolic rate.
Right,
so it's the baseline of which you metabolize food and what rate that happens. The bigger you are, typically your BMR is higher, because obviously to sustain that weight, you need more food.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple logic.
Yeah.
So once you've established your BMR, all you're really looking to do is just create a 300 to 500 calorie deficit per day. And the calculator will give you it. You put in your height, age, weight, and how active you are. The how active you are is pretty subjective, because obviously it's like moderate, intense, whatever.
Yeah.
Again, another space for you to be brutally honest with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, don't over bullshit because you've done CrossFit for 45
really
minutes.
active.
That might be an intense 45 minutes, but if you do that and then go sit on the sofa for 4 hours, you're actually not that active. You just have 45 minutes of chaos. Like,
mad that, innit? I never thought of it like that.
It's not that you're not actually that active at all. Like you've only just done half a football match. It's not very fucking active, is it, really?
No.
When all you've done for the rest of the day is sit on your ass for 14, 16 hours because you've got to sleep for 8. So let's say you sleep for 8. Of your 16, you move for 45 minutes. It's not really going to get you anywhere. It might get you...
Nobody thinks of it like that, though, do they?
It might get you... It will improve your fitness. You will perform better at those tasks. You will become better at clean and jerk, pull-ups, whatever, but you might not necessarily achieve anything else. You might not get leaner, slimmer, lighter, fitter. Well, sorry, you will be fitter, but you won't. Your appearance won't change. It's just never going to change unless the deficit's there, and that's the key thing here. So use the BMR calculator, get your number. Let's guesstimate it's 3,000 calories a day. Yeah. Just aim for 2,700, but do that for a month.
1 month,
regardless of whether you see results or not. Don't even bother. Weigh yourself on day one if weight's the issue, specifically weight, not fat loss, but weight is the issue. Weigh yourself on day one, never weigh yourself again for another 4 weeks, because this isn't about progress. This is about building behaviors. This is about building attitudes and about falling in love with the process and actually just enjoying the fact that this is who you are now. You're becoming a new person. It doesn't matter if you lost weight or not. You're changing as a human being. So there's no point in having the scales dictate, especially, again, if you're a woman, your menstrual cycle is going to kick in that period. You're going to have a natural weight fluctuation anyway. So that's kind of a waste of time. There's no point in using the scales to dictate whether you've done well. Bit off topic here, but it's one of the reasons why I'd never be a bodybuilder, because you're outsourcing your success to 3 judges with a clipboard. Yeah. So you can kick the shit out of yourself for a year, go through hell, and then a bloke with a clipboard just doesn't like you. Doesn't like your look, doesn't like your symmetry, doesn't like this. You didn't win. But you put in all that work, and all of that's now diminished and devalued. And it's the same
all on that one outcome.
Because of one outcome, which is an uncontrollable variable you've outsourced to somebody else, to a subjective variable they've decided. Now, the scales aren't human, and then they don't have subjection, but your body does, because it can be subject to how much glycogen's in your body, how much water. Have you been to the loo that morning? You might not have been to the loo yet. Sometimes your loo can be an extra 2-3 kilos of mass, of waste, of water and everything else. So why bother? You may as well just focus on the behaviours, which is, I know my deficit, I know what I need to aim for, as long as I get a good amount of protein, and everything else can come from anything. So say for me, I aim for like 220 grams of protein a day. That's me, because my...
What is that? What does that... What is that?
What, calorie-wise?
Well, calorie-wise, and like, what does that look like? That many grams of protein?
It's not as much as it sounds. It's typically a couple of chicken breasts per day. I have this sort of like vegan breakfast type thing that I do, which I've recipe on Instagram. Shout out, obviously. And then probably just like a bit of some sort of seafood, like a bit of salmon or whatever. Like, it's not that crazy. Probably.
So what, you're eating 3 times a day with like little bits in between, like?
No, I don't even snack. But that's just me personally. I just don't care for snacks. It just doesn't bother me. I used to, because I always needed something to make me feel better about myself. So it was a constant barrage of shit. But now I like the structure of just brekkie, lunch, dinner. So maybe a bit of dessert. Maybe I'll have something before bed with, me and the missus might have like a bit of popcorn or whatever. But that's it. As long as it's counted in, it doesn't really matter. So all I'm really aiming to do is to say let's say numbers are easy. 200 grams of protein is about 800 calories typically. That's typically it. So it's typically 4 calories per gram of protein, 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates, 9 calories per gram of fat. So that's why traditionally in the 70s, 80s and 90s, it was all about low fat. Because they were just trying to reduce the calories. Yeah. When actually we know now it's better to just keep fats moderate for hormones, and actually carbs are the thing you can play with up and down. Not to demonize any food group, but that's the easiest way to look after yourself in terms of health and longevity. So that's all I do. It's simple. So, all right, I've got 800 calories from a protein. So that leaves me with, say the person who's on 33,000 calories. I've got 2,200 calories now, and it doesn't matter how I get them. Whether I have pizza, whether it's carbs, fats, whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as I get my protein and I don't go over that other number, that's it. That's all I've got to focus on. I don't have to focus on anything else. And I'll just be active every day as I normally am, walking the dog, playing with the kids. Maybe if I'm not playing with the kids because I'm, single or childless or whatever, just get outside, go for steps, go on a bike, whatever it is, even just tidy the flat. I typically do like 2,000 steps before I even left the flat in the morning, because I get up, empty the dishwasher, this needs wiping down, washing needs it. It's just life chores keep you pretty active, believe it or not. It's a lot of your NEAT, so your non-exercise related activity, or what the bloody hell it is. That is just from day-to-day life, just doing chores and looking after, getting off the sofa and actually doing a bit around the house makes all the difference. So just focus on those, establish the behaviours, use your calculator. After a month, go, right, what's changed? If nothing's changed, which I guarantee you that's fucking impossible, something will have changed. But if your weight's not changed, maybe your measurements have gone down. Maybe you've lost a bit off your tummy, whatever. Because they're the 2 things I'd use to track. And then go, cool, this is cool. And even if now it's changed, but you're living a better, healthier, more fun lifestyle, then you've won. You've won anyway, because you've increased your life already by being active. So regardless of what the scales say.
So something has changed now, Ben, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. Do I then go reduce it by another 300?
No, you do. Well, yes and no. Yes, if you go stagnant. But say if you weigh yourself again a week later and you've lost again, there's no point in making it harder for yourself. You may as well ride that until you obviously get a break again, and then you drop again and drop again. Because if you drop too much in the beginning, and I'm telling you this right now as somebody who's spent, and I'm not joking, I'm close to a decade, and I mean this, embarrassingly painful as this is, as a decade, who was just an extreme dieter, it doesn't work. Ever. It never. And I'm not just saying this because everyone likes to think they know better, and I was that guy, I thought I knew better. I thought, I can fucking do this.
What's an extreme diet look like for you? What you're talking
well, if
about?
you're...
Just give me some examples.
All right, so let's say when I was 28 stone, my BMR then was probably like 7,000 calories a day. Pointless me dropping down to 1,600 calories. Fucking ridiculous. Like, you're never going to win that fight. Good luck. Because it just ain't going to happen.
Well, that's what you tried doing?
Of course. Yeah, I'd go train like an animal. I'd go run my 10K or break my fucking ankles for an hour on a treadmill anyway. Then go do another hour's CrossFit style workout, intense, real aggressive, and I'd look at my watch and it'd say I burnt 2,500 calories and do all that, and then go back and barely eat and starve myself, and I'd sustain that for 3-4 days, and your body's going to tap out. You're just physically just going to be exhausted. You're going to get depressed. It's going to send signals in your body to can make you shut down one way or another. That your body will win that fight. I'm telling you now. No matter how much mental perseverance you've got, and even if you win that fight for 12 months, and you're one of these guys who's on the front of Slimming World with his pants out to the side, you'll get fat again a year later. Promise you now. Every single person who's done like the Biggest Loser USA and all that, all get fat again, because it's not reality. It's not sustainable. You can't live like that. You can't live like a hamster wheel. You can't live where everything's perfect and optimal and sat towards this one goal, because you've got to live. You want to get married, you've got to do all these things that require dating and socializing and networking and be successful in business. It's pointless battering yourself for 6 months and saying, I'll do this. I've seen many lads do this. A good friend of mine from back home, he does this. He goes to what he calls a fat camp every summer. He's massive. He's about 30 stone. He's the same height as me. Really, really big lad. Comes back. Everyone celebrates how great he is. Gets on the drill. Eats like a madman. He's back where he was 3 months later. Does it every year. And he's convinced it works. And it's like, yeah, not really. Because over the scale of 5 years, you're exactly where you started. So if you just took a sensible approach, i.e., let's say you're someone who eats a pizza and a large cheesy chips every day. Let's say it's a large pizza. If I want to make sensible change, I take that large pizza and I can either chuck a slice away. Sounds stupid. You'd never do it because why would you waste food? Or I can, rather than getting large, I can get a medium. That's it. Same food. And I've probably saved about 500 calories. And it's the same food. It's the same ritual, the same behaviour, the same junk food, the same salt and crap that my body loves to eat and my emotions love to eat. Great. Do that. Do that for a month. You'll still lose weight initially. But there will come a breaking point, a leverage point, where all those behaviours don't work for you anymore. So you can get away with it, but eventually you just got to go, okay, right, it's time to reel myself now. Sack that off, let's find some better behaviours. Because you'll start to value yourself better. You'll want better results. You're spending actual somatic time making choices about where I want to be in life. And all of a sudden you've built a new level of self-respect for yourself. And all of a sudden you're like, do you know what? If I don't do that and I go to the gym, I can do this and I can do this and do that. Actually, yeah, I want to get stronger at that. I want to get faster at that. I want to be able to broad jump. This is another thing. Set yourself goals that are achievement-based, expressive-based, so you can value your body other than some of the looks and weight. You don't want to value yourself just on how you look and how you weigh, because it's completely arbitrary. Start to value it on, like, can I touch my toes? Can I do a pull-up? Can I, how far's my broad jump? Stuff like that. How fast can I run? Something that you can actually objectively sit back, look at the data and go, there's improvement there. Whether I, no matter how I feel about it or not, I've improved. And then you learn your feelings don't matter, and it just comes down to facts. And then all of a sudden you fall in love with the process. That's what got me there in the end.
You don't want to do this like full time. It's just like the way you deliver stuff, mate. You're so like...
Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know, mate. I mean...
it's like so many people need your help, mate.
It's one of them, mate, where I think if I want to do it, I think it will be in this format where it's just like not really a business-driven decision.
Okay.
And it's just free information.
Yeah.
And that's it.
How much do you do that on your Instagram right now, where you talk like this on a...
Very rare. I used to do it a lot, but that's what kind of led to that previous message we spoke about around in the wrong audience and the wrong brand.
Yeah.
Because it just, I don't know, I actually don't understand why it happened, but I ended up, with a heavily female audience that, don't get me wrong, I'd made content that was tailored towards a general message around body positivity, which is typically consumed by women, so that's kind of why that happened. But nonetheless, it made it really difficult to support the guys I wanted to support, i.e. younger me. You know, that was really what was driving me, because look, whether we like this or not, we only ever help ourselves. If you look at charity donations, people only ever donate to charities that they've been...
Metfield,
it's very rare someone just donates to something that they've not been affected by. It just is what it is. So it became difficult. So would I do it now? Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's one of them where it's definitely valid information, but also in the same note, it's risky information as well, because everyone's got their own journey, everyone's got their own thing, and who am I to say this is the way it works, and who am I to say this is how
but you can help people find their way of doing it, can't you? Just with the way you talk now, it's changed my perception on stuff. Yeah,
maybe so. I mean, I think a big thing, mate, is like, I get messages a lot. I get a lot of guys will sort of say, I need motivation, and I'll be honest, I don't reply, because they've already got it. It's there. The desire to change is your motivation. That's what's the motivating factor. What you don't have is discipline, and this is a fact. You'll hear that message on so many TikToks and stupid shit now, but it's because it's true. Or maybe it's not because you don't have discipline. Maybe you do have discipline, but maybe you've got fear of judgment. Maybe you're scared. You don't want to be embarrassed in the gym. You don't want to feel out of place. You feel like it's not the place for you. So maybe it's not that you don't have discipline and you don't have motivation. Maybe you have those plentyfold. You're just scared. Of course you're scared. You're about to change your life. It's a daunting feeling. So you've got to switch to this granular approach where, a good friend of mine, a guy called DeAndre in Texas, he's lost a similar amount of weight to me. He's 6'7", and he's lost about 160, 170 pounds. He got featured in Men's Health. Really, really successful story. But he has a really, really, really good philosophy behind his approach. Was he didn't lose 170 pounds. He lost a pound 170 times. So he just won 170 times. He's like, why win once when I can win every week? Why put Everest in front of me when I can win every single step up Everest? And then eventually I look back and I realised what I've done.
Beautiful.
That's his approach.
Beautiful.
Take a granular approach. And everyone always says, just keep putting one step in front of the other. But it's true.
Yeah.
Just got to keep plugging. So if you're in a position where you want to change, and the reason why you want to change is because you're capable of it. That's the thing. You actually know. All of us know. All of us know in the moment we're capable of something else, typically. And if we don't have that feeling, it's typically because we're happy. So that's good. If you don't have that feeling, you're happy. But if you are in a position where you're like, fucking, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
That is your body, that is your soul almost trying to guide you to be like, knock it on the head now. You know, like, listen to us, just knock it on the head. And that's it. So yeah, for me, just granular wins. Take little wins, and like I say, why win once when you can win 100 times, 50 times, 200 times, whatever your number is. Seems like a better life to me. But yeah, that's how I looked at it.
And where can people follow you, mate?
Socials are just Instagram, TikTok, and now YouTube. So Instagram and TikTok are Ben_J James, and then YouTube's like Ben James IG. So yeah.
What are you doing on YouTube? What kind of thing are you doing?
Well, potentially that's going to be the platform where I do this.
Right.
So right now I'm just using shorts because it's easy and I'm just republishing the same content on there. Yeah. But I think that's probably going to be where I do.
I hope so, mate.
Yeah, where I just sit and probably just.
I think you need to.
Just
loads of people need your help, mate. They really do. Look, I know everybody's got their own individual journeys, but like I feel like just listening to you can help them find their journey because you have got that attitude. That you're not saying one size fits all.
Yeah, there is no one.
There isn't. No. And you're just like, but this is what I did. This is maybe what could work good for you.
Yeah, maybe.
It's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think
that relationship with food's massive for everybody, even if people aren't overweight and stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean you got to remember that. So now, like, I think we're probably wrapping up soon, but like one of the points is around food at the moment is you're up against it. Whether you like it or not, you are being targeted every single day in more and more intelligent ways by companies than you've ever known. You've got smart notifications from Deliveroo. Uber Eats is tracking your usual routine of where you go and what time you get home, so they can hit you with a notification. You are being targeted, whether you like it or not. It sounds brutal, but you are. So now is the time really to have a conscious mindset around this and go, right, I need to protect myself because this isn't about me versus me. It's actually about me versus them at the same time. Like, I've got to master me so that I can win against them because you are being bombarded on social media. Yes, the apps are listening to you. Every time you talk about something, it magically appears. That is happening. We do know that's true. You're not, you need to warm up. You need to, if you have an issue with food, you need to start doing something about it because they just won't, it won't stop. It's just going to keep going. So just crack on.
It's fucking scary, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit Big Brother-y. It's a little bit Big Brother, but it's true.
It's right,
But it is the reality. Look, it's the world you're in now, whether you like it or not. You ain't ever going to escape this. Like, all of us in terms of social media and that sort of stuff. It is what it is. I know Apple yesterday launched the new headset, which that reminded me of like an old Futurama episode where I think the character wakes up and there's an advert in his head because obviously they've integrated technology into the brain, and that to me just feels like that's probably going to be it, right? Like, you know, you've got people now, you've got these big daft goggles and they want you to wear it in the real world. It's got 6 cameras on so they can listen and watch every single conversation, motivations, where do your eyes go when you watch the screen, all of that happens. You know, we can see it on apps now where Instagram knows what you're being caught out by, so it can see which zones you're spending your time on, where are you physically looking, because obviously they've got cameras pointing at your eyes all the time. So if they realise your eyes light up when you see food, they're going to start pestering you with food. So you are being micro-targeted. It sounds insane, but you are. So I'm not a conspiracy guy. I'm truly not. It's just fact. It's just
fact, that.
It just is what it is.
Got to look after. He's got to arm yourself, everybody.
Mate, it started 15 years ago. Instagram employed. They changed a lot of their headboards, a lot of their suite. So the C-suite came strictly from gambling companies. They sacked off a lot of their major creatives and just swapped them with gambling professionals, experts, to learn how do we make people addicted. You know, what are they using? They shut the windows, they have no clock. Okay, how can we integrate that? Right, we'll do full screen takeover so you can't see the battery and you can't see all that. It's all that stuff. It's been going on for years. But now we're starting to actually see it in a crazy way. So if you're in that position, you want to change, got to warm up.
Everybody go follow Ben. Fuck's sake, he knows some shit. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.